don't have a lot of time today, just 30 minutes. So we'd love to get started ASAP. We have like a pretty star-studded panel today. Cool. I'll give a quick introduction of myself, and then I'll pass the time on to my fellow panelists. My name is Jonathan. I'm a principal at BITKRAFT. I cover APAC. That's all you need to know. Over to you, Vesa.
Yeah, hi. My name is Vesa from Finland. Actually, just recently moved to Singapore. So enjoying my life there. I'm leading the Return Entertainment team based in Finland. BITKRAFT, our biggest investor at the moment. Personally, my background is in mobile gaming. I used to work for Rovio Entertainment in Finland. Then I was a co-founder of a Rovio-funded cloud gaming startup called Hatch Entertainment 10 years ago. So I consider myself as a cloud gaming pioneer. And now focusing at Return on bringing cloud gaming to smart TVs. And that's a massive, massive opportunity. We think it's kind of a blue ocean opportunity for video games. If you think about the market size, so there will be soon 1 billion smart TVs on this planet, and only a small fraction of those TVs is currently used for gaming. And the reason for that one is that the current solutions for TV gaming is either you get a game console, which is super expensive for many people, or you use one of the existing cloud gaming services, which actually have a lot of friction points to hinder their penetration in the market. So first of all, if you want to use Xbox Cloud or if you want to use GeForce Now, you need a game controller. You need an ultra-fast internet connection. And all these services have a paywall. They are paid subscription services. And we want to change this and basically bring cloud gaming to TV audiences in a very frictionless and easy fashion. So basically, we have developed a proprietary cloud gaming platform, which is using your mobile phone as a controller. So you just scan a code on the TV screen and you can play without any additional hardware. We have a proprietary streaming protocol, which is really latency tolerant. So you don't need to have any kind of fast-speed broadband connection. It works with any standard internet. And lastly, we are also betting on free-to-play models. So we don't want to put paywalls between the users and the games, but you can get into the games easily, start having fun, and then we monetize with in-game monetization elements. And we are working very closely with Samsung in the US market at the moment. We've been live since May this year. And it's a super unique position to be working with such a giant company to help us to validate this market opportunity and scale the business further going forward.
Hi, I'm Rosen with Now.gg. Some of you may know us as BlueStacks. So we've been in this business for almost since 2012. And we are now the third largest distribution platform for mobile games after Apple and Google. And we basically offer two products for game developers. So the first one is our SDK. So you can integrate the Now SDK, and then you can publish your game to cloud on PC with our BlueStacks store, on Mac. You can also publish to all the alternate stores like Amazon, Huawei, Xiaomi, and so on. And we have also launched a store online, a store on Telegram, and in India we will launch a store on WhatsApp. So our distribution alone is about 100 million users, right? Plus we get the distribution of all the other partners, right? And we use cloud, but from a developer perspective, the cloud is transparent, right? So in our platform fee, the cloud is included, so the developer doesn't have to worry about whether a user is using the cloud or not using the cloud, and that's why we have seen a lot of success with it on various platforms. And if the user uses cloud and downloads, all that stuff works seamlessly. The second product we offer is Now UA. So of course, all the mobile game developers want to not only publish their game, but also promote the games across all these channels. So that's also offered across our channels and our partners' channels also. So.
I'm David Cook and CEO of Radian. What we do is provide a platform which is GPUs that we put into telco networks. We have 78 different telcos around the world that we've closed deals with to roll those GPUs out. The aggregate reach of those telcos is about 2.5 billion users that are in the process of moving over to 5G connections. So what we do is we partner with cloud gaming companies that want to be able to use our infrastructure to be able to reach those consumers. The second part of what we do there is actually focus on helping with user acquisition. So our observation is that if we can take the data from the telcos and merge that with other third-party data sets, then we can really help to lower customer acquisition costs, which we think has been one of the reasons that cloud gaming has maybe been a little slower on the uptake. So being able to help with that user acquisition is a very important part of what we do.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on stage with three very accomplished and seasoned founders. Maybe let's start off with like something. Actually, all my questions are deliberately provocative, so I'm just going to start with the first one, right? A lot of people, from the BITKRAFT perspective, we're always on the hunt for the next platform shift, right? So when mobile happened, there was a big platform shift. So we're always thinking about, so what's going to happen next? Like, where do we invest? And my GPN co-founder, Scott, is over there, actually had a saying that I liked a lot. Like, the future of the next platform is platform agnostic. Like, it's going to be all in the cloud. But something that we struggle with is that, hey, a lot of people tell us that cloud gaming has been the next big thing for a decade already and still hasn't here yet, right? So what exactly is changing on the ground that you are seeing that allows you to think that, you know, cloud gaming could bring in like the next paradigm in terms of consumer entertainment?
Well, if I start, I think the one fundamental challenge with cloud gaming so far, and as Jonathan put it, it's been kind of up and coming for many years. But I think one of the key challenges has been that cloud gaming has always been seen as just yet another delivery mechanism for the very same games what you already have, targeting the very same audiences who already play video games. And it's, of course, always a compromised experience compared to running the games locally on a dedicated gaming rig. And that's what I think people have been getting wrong. That I think the same way, like coming from the mobile gaming background, if you think about the mobile gaming revolution, it wasn't just putting the same games from the PCs to mobile devices. It was actually designing totally new types of games for that new medium. And what we think at Radian Entertainment is that the same should happen now with cloud gaming as well. And as we are focusing on smart TV audiences, we believe that you should actually design the whole experience from the ground up and the technology for that very medium, for that very audience. And it doesn't happen by trying to force fit the same AAA games down the throat of TV users who don't identify as gamers. But I think it calls for really kind of developing also totally new kinds of game experiences. Like in mobile, you know, you created games around the touch screen, which is a really different phenomenon. In the same way, we think that, you know, now when we talk about cloud model and especially the TV as a kind of consumption platform, so it kind of needs for kind of a bit different approach as well. And I think we all know about Google Stadia. They game with kind of huge promises and fanfares, but I think that's where they got this wrong as well, that they were trying to kind of focus on the very same games, targeting the very same hardcore audiences with a compromised experience, and it didn't fly. And at least that's what we're trying to kind of do differently now, that kind of start from your target audience and design the whole thing from the ground up for that purpose.
So Jonathan, I think your question is wrong. So I think in the US, when people say cloud gaming, they automatically think subscription service where I'll be given content to play. I think that business model is fundamentally broken. And it's not going to fix itself because cloud inherently will have cost. So you need a business model that scales with time, right? So user has to either spend more or play more. Having said, so I think that model is just broken, right? However, if you look like NetEase in China, so they now launch a cloud version of the game packaged and a full version of the game simultaneously for all their games, right? So that is working very well. Genshin gives you a cloud pass inside the game, which you have to buy. That is working very well. So to rephrase your question, the business model where there will be a subscription service and somebody will pay for that subscription service and have content, and somebody can make that profitable, I think that is very, very limited set of content for which that can work. And I actually think that is not going to work for a long period of time. However, the more transparent you can, the user doesn't care whether it's cloud or not, right? So the more transparent you can make the cloud, the more it's going to work. So this is already happening, right? But not in the form that people had imagined, right? So I think the question, if you rephrase the question, is cloud being used in gaming to effectively deliver a good experience? Yes, it's being used. Is there going to be a subscription service where we can pay monthly and play games? I think that business model is fundamentally broken and won't get fixed.
Yeah, look, I think, as a veteran of the music business and then OTT video business, these things generally do take time, right? I mean, I remember at the very beginning of the music business, a president of one of the labels sitting me down saying, David, mark my words, you will never be able to get a track individually. We'll only ever deliver albums. Well, obviously, that didn't stay for very long, right? And similarly, I remember when we were first starting OTT video, there was a technology executive who said, streaming media over the internet breaks the laws of physics. It'll never happen, right? So you hear these kind of complaints or pushbacks quite frequently as relates to cloud gaming in terms of whether it's experience or whether it's business model or those kind of things. But fundamentally, as we look at it, we see three different things. One is you need content. And I think that could be cloud-native content or content that's produced for the medium. I think, secondly, you need a great user experience, and that great user experience includes things like using the mobile phone in order to be able to engage with the TV. And we've definitely seen that when you bundle a controller together with a TV, you get 5 times the number of playing hours, those kinds of things. And then the third is the business model. And the business model, if you look at some of the earlier versions of this, at a maximum, they could play 1 game per GPU at a time, right? And as we look at the rollout of new technologies, new GPUs, and we can see that density rise to 4, 6, 12 games per GPU, you fundamentally drop the cost. I mean, I remember when you first launched OTT video, it would actually cost more to deliver a movie than you could actually charge for the movie, right? Great business model. But over time, as you see that density rise, as you see sort of the cost be able to drop down, you can go into some of these developing markets and really offer a product that may be advertising-based or freemium-based, that you can bring those kinds of products to the market.
So it sounds like there's some... Sorry, Vesa, you want to go?
Well, I just wanted to kind of echo something what Rosen said earlier, that I fully agree with the fact that you should not kind of think about the technology and the delivery mechanism too much. The consumer doesn't care. What they care about is the experience they're getting. Are they being entertained? Are they having fun? I might kind of a bit differing opinion on the business model, so that I don't actually believe that it really matters what the business model is ultimately, so that if you are able to deliver some really entertaining, fun experience that people love and keep playing, you will figure out the way to monetize it. So it may be subscription, it may be free to play, it may be something else, but I've always been a kind of product guy, worked a lot in product development and product marketing as well, and I think you should always focus on the product and the product experience, and if you get that right, then all these other things will follow.
So it sounds like there are a few problems that the cloud gaming industry is basically solving. One is the business model, which wasn't mentioned. And number 2 is, Vesa mentioned, like targeting the right users. What about, okay, so the way I think about these two together is that for a business to actually work, like the user experience has to be strong. But a lot of times, the problems that we have encountered in cloud gaming happens on the technology side of things, right? For someone to deliver a good user experience over the cloud to a user on NVIDIA GeForce, for example, like the technology, you basically need to have data centers as close to the user as possible. There'll be latency issues if not, right? So are some of these technological problems being solved?
Yes and no. So like I said earlier, if you insist on targeting hardcore gamers with AAA content, cloud gaming, I don't think will ever cut it. There's always going to be compromise. If you're a hardcore gamer, you're always better off by having a dedicated gaming rig, buying a PlayStation 5 Pro or whatever. So that's always going to be the ultimate experience. But if we want to target the broader audiences, people who don't identify as gamers, who are not willing to put the $700 or whatever on the table to get a console or gaming PC, then I think cloud gaming is already there, that we can deliver good enough, great experience to these folks who want to kind of just enjoy big screen gaming, for example, in an easy and accessible fashion. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, of course, like cloud capacity is currently abundantly available. I think the rise of AI has been contributing to the fact that there's a lot of GPU capacity being built around the world, which will kind of ultimately make it more easily accessible and cheaper. Also, the network qualities are getting better, even though, of course, there are still many places on this planet where you don't get a decent internet connection yet, but in broad kind of scheme of things, in the developed part of the market, the connectivity is already pretty good. But ultimately, I think that it comes down to the kind of really optimizing your experience to the target audience you're going after, and kind of making your bets correct instead of going the wrong way.
That sounds a lot like Rosen's business, right? Because you deliver mobile experiences on the cloud.
Yeah, so we only focus on mobile games. So if you look at our traffic, it's about 55%. So mobile on mobile is the dominant use case. And then 45% is PC. Actually, we are beyond the point where the consumer cares about the quality. It's good enough. Our challenge is different. The challenge is there are not enough GPUs. Right? So I won't name the provider, but we caused the last iTunes outage because one of the streamers put the link in their chat, and it caused a spike of 40,000 users, right? And there is no Amazon, Google count, all of them. Nobody can handle a spike of 40,000 users, right? So now we are forced to, so we work with 4 different cloud providers now. We see average bursts of 0 to 100,000, routinely, like 10 to 20,000, pretty average, but if you get more. And the problems you have to solve at that scale are very different, right? And since our business model is not to charge the end user or not to charge the game developer, right? So we basically have to make it profitable in the platform fee we are charging. So there's a cost element to it. But solving that problem at that scale is a very different problem than solving it, for 100 users or 200 users, right? So I think while we are not even trying to do console games or PC games, so we are doing mobile games, and the experience problem is solved. The scale problem is not solved. Like, Tencent has 1,000 GPUs in Japan total, right? For gaming, 1,000 burst is nothing, right? I mean, like, you have one release out, you get a burst of 10,000, 20,000, each streamer. So I'm saying this is, and we are reaching that stage, like with our user base, that we are seeing those kind of bursts. So like, for example, we had to go from one data center, so user comes to US East, but next time they come, there's no capacity in US East, so we send them to US West, right? But the user data has to move. Then now we can do GCP, Amazon, Tencent, and we are adding more cloud, right? So these are not easy problems to solve at that scale. So I think depending on where you are and what kind of traction you're seeing, there are different problems to solve. So.
I think this is where, sorry, Vesa, go ahead.
No, just to comment on that one. So I think that's a very good point, and for that matter, like I said earlier, we have developed our own proprietary streaming protocol, which is very latency tolerant, which really allows us to access the GPU capacity wherever it happens to be available. So currently our US operation, we have only using 2 data centers, one in the East Coast, one in the West Coast. Personally living in Singapore, I can play our game stream from the US in Singapore. It works perfectly fine. So of course it doesn't go for this kind of really real kind of real-time dependent games, but any casual game experiences, it's totally good. And that's of course a huge opportunity that, from the capacity perspective and scaling perspective, that we can always find data center with available GPUs It doesn't need to be close to the players, and we can always kind of get capacity when the user base is scaling up.
David, I feel like you have a lot to say because your service is already providing PC experiences to users. Could you share some of your experiences and what you're seeing on the ground, please?
We set it up for you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, look, I mean, I think that I will say two different things here. One is it really does depend on the workload you're trying to put on the GPU as to where it needs to be, right? So if it is a lighter weight game, obviously you can extend further, but if you're going into heavier games, then you need to be a lot closer. So two examples I can give. One is in India, with one of the telcos there, we're rolling out in 46 different data centers. It will be thousands and thousands of GPUs, and even taken over the GPUs that they currently have to manage within our platform. And that is so that we can take various different kinds of workloads from the lighter end, where we might be trying to get 50 or 60 games per GPU, to the heavier, where we can only run 3 or 4 games per GPU. Second example would be in Vietnam. They're about to launch 5G in Vietnam in a couple of months. So we've got all the major telcos there. We're in the middle of rolling out with them. And again, we're deploying a wide range of GPUs. So some of them that are designed to take the heavier games, some of them that are designed to take a lot more lightweight games. So different, and in that scenario, we can do it in just 2 different locations, right? So it all depends on the local network that exists. It all depends on the density of the games that you're trying to support, et cetera.
One thing to add here, I think this is super relevant topic, the kind of how to ensure that you have the cloud capacity you need. And we also try to innovate in this space and think a bit out of the box. So we are currently running our platform on AWS. But what we are doing now is that we are building support, and it's pretty much there now, building support for spot instances. So that is a great way for us to kind of bring the cost to a fraction of using on-demand capacity. And the way we do it is that since we are monetizing the games with advertising, in-game advertising, so if we get notified that we're about to lose a spot instance, at some point we will then pause the game, we will run an ad, and during the ad is running, we will switch to a new spot instance. So I think you need to look at these things also kind of a bit kind of from a different angle to think that how can you actually maneuver in this kind of world when things are constrained and limited, and do things a bit new way. Another thing we are doing, we are currently now partnering with Ether, which is a distributed cloud GPU platform. And it's also a perfect fit for us because let's say that they might have a capacity available in Brazil. We can take their capacity in Brazil and stream to the US. So there are all these kind of things we can actually kind of do things a bit different way, and that way kind of find kind of ways to scale and provide kind of great service for user base which can be growing.
So not to, what you're saying is correct, but you haven't reached the scale yet where buying spot actually changes the price of the spot, right? So in all the platforms you say, we have scaled enough with spot that we actually begin impacting global US price of spot. And with BlueStacks, we actually have 30 million endpoints. I mean, Ether is very small, but I'm still telling you that with the gaming is so bursty. And mobile game, all the mobile game run promotion between 1st of the month and 3rd of the month. Like all of them, because they want to maximize the revenue for the month. So the burst comes at exactly the same time. And then we also do payments, right? So you can move servers around, but as soon as you begin to do payment, there are jurisdiction restrictions on where the user can be and where the payment can be, right? So in the evolution of scale, what you're saying works for some period of time, but when you begin to hit real scale, the problems change. There are just not enough GPUs. Right, in the data centers. I think that's the biggest one. That's why our BlueStacks asset is so big, because we do have 30 million MAU around the world, which are all really good GPUs. So anyway, I mean, I think all those things work, but it's just a question of what scale you're operating on. So.
We have about 5 minutes left, so I would just like to open the floor for questions, if any. No? Well, I think that's the end of our panel. Thanks everyone for having us, and please a round of applause for our panelists.